Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Heyman Marrero from Urbender, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU. Hi, everyone. I want to introduce you or welcome again to I Have Something to Say, my dear friend, Johanna López. Hi, Johanna. ¿Cómo estás?
I'm feeling good, very good. Yeah, gracias. Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. I wanted to invite Johanna again on the podcast and videocast now after COVID, because the last conversation we had was back in March this year before we went into isolation and on lockdown. And it was about an issue here in the community, right? That we've been working on for so long, and we wanted it to come to fruition. And the entire Latino community here in the Orange County, Florida region was already just desperate to see change, right? And so, just as a little bit of background, Johanna López is she's on the Orange County Public School Board, District 2, representing District 2, and she was elected by a landslide victory back in 2018 with over 40,000 votes, right? In terms of the win, and it was just epic. It was just fantastic. And she is the first Latina and the first Boricua to sit on this 150-year-old board. Okay, so that's like huge. And when you consider that one of every 3 residents of Orange County is Hispanic, it's like about time it happened, right? So thank you for joining us again, because I just feel that what we just experienced a couple of weeks ago was just so historic and such a huge moment for our community that I wanted to celebrate that with you. I was so proud. And basically, back in March, Johanna came on the show because there was, we were this close to being able to, after almost 2 years of, challenging the system here locally, changing the name of a middle school in a highly or predominantly Latino and Black community from the name of a Confederate General to Roberto Clemente Middle School, right? And so back then there was a big, it was like we were jumping through hoops and doing everything and following the rules. And Johanna's like, paciencia, patience. Right? How was that back then? Like looking back now, where, how did it feel back then, to have to deal with both sides of the issue?
I think that at this moment now, all of us understand why I did not make a motion at that moment in favor of the name immediately, because even when I had the power to make that type of motion, we did not have the students participating in the development of essays to understand the names, to understand the options, to understand why we want to get rid of the name of Stonewall Jackson. They did not know at that time who was Stonewall Jackson. I think that it was very important for me to engage the students in the process, and also to expose the situation, because this is a problem. It is an issue. We have a school named after a Confederate soldier during this time that that we're facing a lot of discrimination in our nation in so many ways. So it was very important for me to engage the students, to educate the community, to have a survey when we have descriptions for each personality, and also to encourage them to identify Hispanic names because they are 74% Hispanic. Imagine, the students doing the research with the teachers, talking with their parents. Okay, I'm going to talk about, Julia de Burgos, Sonia Sotomayor.
Simon Bolivar. Yeah, there were several names on the table, right? Including others like Diversity Middle School, and there were other names too.
Yes, and the situation is that we are not naming new schools after names of personalities, but the older schools have names after personalities. So we have the option to give them a hero, to give them a role model, and to rename the school after a personality that they can feel related, they can feel inspired, they can they can even feel that the student of colors, if you're African
That
American,
that identify with them. Yes.
exactly. And the problems that also Roberto Clemente faced with his accent, the color of his skin, that isolation and the conversations that he always had based on segregation. And so I think it's very, very relevant to that school, to the former Stonewall Jackson school, now Roberto Clemente.
Yes, it's fantastic. And so we wanted to dedicate this episode to small victories. And so while some people might listen to this and say, oh wow, okay, so that's cool, and it might seem like a small victory to some populations, and some people it's like a massive victory because it's really something that's established. I mean, this school was named Stonewall Jackson back in 1965. So it's been embedded in that community, which has changed. The demographics have dramatically changed. And then obviously the discourse and the narrative of our country, towards justice and equality has also changed. So we wanted to mirror that. And anyway, I want to thank you on behalf of the entire community for being a champion, of this initiative and for being mindful, right, of following process two to ensure that it was cemented, right, in the resistance side, right? That this is something that the community really wanted. And when you know that the survey, 70% of everyone that participated in the survey wanted the name Roberto Clemente out of the 5 options offered. I mean, come on.
And nobody can question the
results.
What's overwhelming is everybody, the community, the students. So and we have the support from the white community, from the African American community. So this is about being united to make this a reality. I think that it was great to have that type of overwhelming results based on surveys from the district.
Yes.
So again, that's what our students want, the community wants, our leaders want. So it's very, very, amazing.
Yeah. But your entire life has been, one like a succession of victories, small victories, so much, which creating like this freaking amazing, massive victory to where you are right now, as the only Latina school board member, in the Orange County public school system. But before we move into that, like, those small victories in your life, just one last question about this whole name change. How did it feel? Because I was watching virtually, on the school board meeting, and it's so impressive because you're all sitting there on these like this beautiful dioceses, in the county, offices and stuff. How did it feel to make that motion? I mean, because I know and you were calm, cool, and collected, but I need to know, how did you feel inside?
I felt very emotional. I don't know, the mask is covering my face, but I wanted to cry. I don't know if people can see it, or saw it at that moment. But just to listen again to our community leaders and to former students from my classroom and from Stonewall Jackson speaking in favor of Roberto Clemente, and also have African American parents also speaking on behalf of the name of Roberto Clemente. And even another parent from another school, a white person, he was there just speaking
For
on behalf of,
something else. I saw that for something else.
and he just took the opportunity to say, you know what? I support Roberto Clemente. So, this is about everybody. So I felt very moved, very honored, having the support of every single school board member.
Mm-hmm.
And it was overwhelming, but positively.
Yes.
I felt very, very proud of the community. And when I see a lot of Hispanics in the school board, that is something that we never see that before.
Going to the meetings.
Okay,
going to the meetings. Uh-huh.
They're very long. We talk about policies, it's not that interesting. And, the terminology, not everybody knows about this. But now we have the Hispanic community, a lot of Hispanic going to the school board. I think they feel more comfortable. They have somebody who speaks Spanish. They can email in Spanish. They don't have to feel uncomfortable because of the accent, because I have a huge accent. So that's great too. My accent is an accent at this point. So I think they dare to do it. I even saw one of my former students. She used to be an ISO student, and she came from Dominican Republic, and she was talking in Spanish, very proud, without any help with any paperwork. So, oh my God, that's Diana. Only 2 years in the United States, so she's working so hard, and made me so proud of everybody that was there. And
yeah. Yes, I think it was just so awesome to see. And you've been on this board for only 2 years, but you've done so much, and I think that while this was a huge victory, I think that you're right. The number one victory is that can I tell you something? Before you were on the board, I'd never been to an Orange County Public School Board meeting. Now that you mentioned that, so really, thank you. I think that's like the biggest victory, that everyone coalesced around this and showed up and exercised their opinion and voice, so I think it was amazing. And so when you were elected into this position so overwhelmingly, this wasn't happenstance. This is not a coincidence. This is not you like listen like this. Mira, what like this one victory after the other, right? Like this with sweat and tears, right, Johanna? With sweat and tears. Until reaching this huge accomplishment of being on this board. And I feel like it was a lot of hard work, obviously, but that first big recognition as a teacher of the year in 2016 really catapulted you to a whole other level. And so I want to go backwards, to really showcase the small victories in your life, that helped you get to this place where now you're a voice for all of us and for the students, for the future of our country. And so you're from Puerto Rico. What? And I didn't know this about you, but you're a product of the public housing. You were raised in public housing. So tell me about, your life and how and your pursuits of education, as your area, to like your studies.
Yes. So, the public housing in Puerto Rico is called El Caserío or El Residencial. I born there. I born in El Caserío Juan García Ducos in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. And my mom used to clean houses for living. My mom only have a 6th grade education, but she always emphasized the importance of go to the university. You have to study. You have to, have to do this. You don't want to clean houses like me,
Yeah.
So always on top of me, and she always support me, to be in sports as well. I used to play volleyball as well, representing Aguadilla in different categories. So I was very engaged in the school. I love the school. I don't know, sometimes I'm mad, but, she always said, okay, tú para lo único que sirves para leer y para estudiar. Y yo, oh my God, I feel so wrong because, the Puerto Rican moms, they just want you to be very, very perfect in cleaning. That is
Yeah.
the number one thing in our houses. Even if you clean that day and we have a visitor, she's going to say, I'm sorry, this is, it's not an order, it's not that clean. And I see everything and everything is so clean. And so,
Yeah.
but she always said, wow, you're so, but I think that
You just want to read and study, read and
yes,
study, read and study. Yeah.
I feel very focused in education.
Right.
I graduated from El Colegio de Mayagüez. I went to public education all my life. Obviously, we
Mm-hmm.
don't have the money to go to any other place. So I went to la Universidad de Puerto Rico de Mayagüez. In the University of Puerto Rico Mayagüez campus, I was magna cum laude. So I have a bachelor's in Hispanic studies. And then after that, I went to San Germán, to the University, Inter-American University, and I studied higher education. But I was trying to find a job, and it was very difficult.
Yeah. But so you completed your master's degree in
Yes,
education, correct?
yes. And after
Great.
that, I came here. I came
Yeah, because
here.
you couldn't find a job, right?
No,
I mean, you were
no,
highly educated, and it was impossible because I just want to, just a side note. Puerto Rico, has been suffering, a recession for a long time, and that's why throughout the decades we've seen,
mm-hmm.
even before that, like my grandparents, have moved to New York, for example, back in the 1940s, and then now we've seen that in the 90s, that was when it started to be Orlando and like the Central Florida region a focal point for migration from Puerto Rico to the U.S. Hmm.
Exactly. I'm frustrated sometimes because people said, "Oh, you need a no from a politician so you can have a job." And I said, "But I studied a lot.
Yeah,
I did my job.
yeah,
Why
in
I
Puerto Rico, right? Uh-huh. Yeah,
yeah, so why I have to ask for?" And my mom was very engaged in politics.
yeah,
I
yeah.
had to participate, but it was something that made me feel uncomfortable.
Can I tell you something? I
Yes.
didn't know that, but that's why I left Puerto Rico when I got my master's degree too.
Oh,
Because my dad used to work with the federal government in Puerto Rico, and so he the same. He people knew him and stuff, and I could have easily gotten a job in communications
yes.
through him, la pala, right? Like a hookup. It's what we call the hookup. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to owe anybody anything. So just like you, I packed up my bags and moved to New York in the early 90s, because I had family. I have family there. So
Yes.
it's the same reason. Look at
Yes.
that. That's
So I
great.
moved to the United States, to Florida, with the father of my children. But I had two. I have Esteban, the oldest, and Gio, the second one. So I came here and I started working at the airport, in a car wash in the airport, and then in a fast food restaurant. I felt so uncomfortable because it was difficult for me. It's not the same thing when you learn English in the book, and another thing when you have to communicate constantly in the second language. So I felt that, and we are very perfectionist with our native language, and we try to do the same thing with the other languages. Oh my God, man, no, it's very hard. So it was a challenge. I did not feel comfortable to look for a job until somebody in the apartments that I used to live asked me if I have an education, a diploma, and I explained to her. She was Puerto Rican as well, and she said, "Why you don't go to Colonial High School and be a volunteer or maybe a substitute?" So I always say thank you because of you. Elizabeth Carrillo. She used to be the manager of that apartment, and I went to Colonial High School as a volunteer at the beginning. Then as a
Yeah.
substitute, then I became a full time teacher in 1999.
Wow. And so you moved to Central Florida in 1997.
1998.
In 1998. Okay, 1998. So you graduated in 1997, came to Florida in 1998, and then started working immediately in the car wash and fast food because you had to feed the babies, right?
Right.
And and then volunteered to get into the to plug in to the
Exactly.
education system, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
small victory, right?
Yeah.
That you volunteered and then you were given that opportunity
Yep.
to teach. Yeah.
Tell you that when I was a volunteer, I helped this teacher. She was very sick, and I was helping her to teach. So she said, you know what? I love to correct papers and do the paperwork. You can teach it because you know the topics. So I said, oh my God, she's allowing me to do what it was easier for me because the paperwork, I don't like it a lot. So I felt very, honored and pleased, without any type of payment. So of salary. So at that moment that she got sick, the assistant principal said, "Can you be a substitute because she needs a leave of absence. She's very sick." So because I did not have all the paperwork done, they put an assistant principal or the dean of discipline every day in my classroom to see because I did not have all the paperwork. So remember, they have to make sure that until I have all the paperwork, I can be along with the students.
Yeah.
So that was the resume. That was the, the letter of recommendation. So I feel that at the beginning I felt kind of uncomfortable, but then today I think I was blessed.
Yes, that was a blessing that they were
Yes,
that the leadership
exactly.
of the school was watching you.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So when I completed the paperwork to become the substitute, the assistant principal, she was a Puerto Rican too. She said, "Please, Johanna, don't leave us because the Hispanic community is growing. The Puerto Ricans are moving from Puerto Rico." That was in 1998. Everything is gonna change. We're gonna have Spanish-speaking classes in every high school in Orange County Public School, and I know that they're gonna get you. So please, don't ask for don't do anything. We're gonna give you the opportunity to have an interview, and with the recommendation from all the assistant principals and all. So it was an experience. So
Yeah.
but
So Colonial High School became your home.
exactly.
Became your home, and all those students for the next
Yes.
18 years became your babies.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Yes.
became a surrogate mother to all of those
Yes.
kids, right? Isn't that
Yes.
awesome? I'm so excited. And no wonder you won then, right? By a whopping 40,000 votes, over your closest, opposition, for the seat on the Orange County School Board. That's like huge. That's like
Yes.
huge. But in your work in Colonial High School, you not only just taught AP Spanish and you didn't stay in your lane. Basically, you're not a stay in your lane kind of chick. No, and that's why I love you. That's why we're friends because this broad over here is not a stay in your lane kind of chick either. You're laughing because what else? You coach volleyball,
Yes.
right?
For boys and girls.
For boys and girls, uh-huh.
And also for the first time, it was so many people because I was trying to make them, very engaged in volleyball. In Puerto Rico, we play a lot of volleyball, and we have a lot of Hispanics. In the majority of the Puerto Ricans were also in Colonial High School. So for the first time, we have a nice grade team as well. So I have to find another coach because now we have a lot of students that want to be part of the team. Even private schools went to my clinics during summer.
Nice.
And remember that I met another coach from another school, from Jones High School, Miss Brown. She went there and said, "You know what? I'm gonna have a volleyball team for the first time in Jones High School, and I would love to see if you can help me." to create the teams. Of course. So she stayed with me also in the clinics and helped me with because I have so many people in the clinic during the summer. And then I went with few of the players from Colonial High School to Jones High School to help her. A great experience. The population in Jones High School, the majority of them are African American, and in Colonial are Hispanic. Very, very nice experience, So yes, so that was
Yeah.
volleyball first.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
And
fantastic. Mm-hmm.
yeah, the Hispanic Honor Society, we did not have a Hispanic club. We have a Spanish club, but not very small one. So we have 150 members in the Hispanic Society, and we created a show called Unidos. But the show was so big. It was about performance in can be English or Spanish, but needs to be a Hispanic artist or maybe the Spanish song, and also dances. So another very successful event. I had
Yeah, but wait, pause on that one because it was so funny when you were telling me about Unidos. So Johanna has this idea of why don't we do like a performance theatrical thing and get all the students involved and open it up to everybody. It doesn't matter your background, but it's Latino inspired or Hispanic inspired because she's the Spanish teacher, right? So it's to engage the students and the families. Mind you, this is a school that has like 3,000 students, right? Something crazy like that.
700.
3,700 students. So she does open call, anybody who wants to participate, and it created chaos because
Yes.
everybody wanted to. So then it's like, okay, back it up. Back it up. We need to do auditions now. But that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
really fantastic because it really engaged not only the students, but then that's when you mentioned to me that the parents then with the
Yes.
sports and with these performances, then it was like a full year of also parent engagement, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. I also saw that our Hispanic community wasn't engaged in the PTA, in the Parent Teachers Association, and it was because they did not feel related because the majority of them did not speak English. So I decided to create a group called Familias Presentes, Estudiantes Excelentes, so they
Yeah,
can
which means families that are present, excellence in students, right? Or
speak.
student excellence. Uh-huh.
Exactly. So, it was very simple, but I created a different structure. Instead of putting everybody to see somebody speaking, I just talked to different colleagues and put different mini groups so we can speak to them no more than 10 minutes with a stopwatch. And everybody has different topics. And at the end, if you want to repeat one of the topics, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So let me tell you that we have the same. I have that event in the media, the library
Center. Uh-huh.
at the media center. So I thought, okay, maybe the media center, small space. If you compare, not that small because, but if you compare the media center with the performance arts center, that we can have 900 students approximately, So I started there. So the majority of the parents who speak Spanish went there. And the principal came to me and said, Johanna, they have to go first to the performance. I said, well, they have the same thing here in Spanish with special attention to them. She said, Johanna, but you have more people here than what we have there in the city. What are we going to do? So, well, you have to tell them then because I did not know how to tell them. You have to go there first, and then if you want, come here. And even I remember this Anglo parent, white male that came to me and he saw because I made like a paper and it was all the information in only one sheet with the main extensions, main names of the people to solve different situations. And he said, "Oh my God, I love this. You have this in English." Because he wanted to be part of the event as well. But I was something I can put it on the fridge. I laminated, because
Yeah.
I want somebody to understand that if you see, the power, most of the time people just show us the triangle with the power, the superintendent, then area superintendent, And I said, no, it's backward. The power is on you. So we have
Yes.
of the reality, and
Yes.
the power is in the parents. The parents are
Yes.
the ones who should be in charge of the students says on the students on in their children academic performance, and they're supposed to feel comfortable and welcome in the school and feel free to ask for better services and more inclusion. And
Yeah.
we want that. The school board want that, the district want that, but we are so big that sometimes we depend on the parents to identify the problem so we can help them to be successful.
And I feel like this engagement and you creating all of these opportunities to mentor and teach parents on how to do that, on
Yeah.
how to challenge the system, on how to ask questions, on how to speak up as
Mhm.
needed, is why it's so important. And it's no surprise. Again, it seems like a small victory, but to us it's like freaking awesome, that you're there, because it's like the culmination of all of these successful programs, all of these small victories in trying to create stuff and getting it approved, because I'm sure that was challenging too, like, oh, I have this idea, right?
Yes. I have meetings with all the principals surrounding me.
Yeah.
Why you want to do this in that place and not in this other place? Why you want and
Yeah.
and, and when we have new principals, we have to communicate what we are achieving with our students and say,
Yeah.
what, as the previous principal, I
Yeah.
know that I have a lot of people, even if you are not used to see a lot of Hispanic families together in an event. This is
Yeah.
gonna be this. That's why I want to do this event, because it was during Hurricane Maria, and I wanted to
Yes.
in the cafeteria. We can have there more than 2,000 people.
Yeah.
But why there? And said, well, this is what is happening. So they, and I highly appreciate the opportunity that they're giving me,
Yeah.
to speak and explain to them,
Yeah.
with everybody. But it's not. I don't think that is something that principals do it,
Yeah.
frequently.
But that's
And
great that we have someone like you that has the cultural competency,
mhm,
right? And also the experience, having had 4 children, because you mentioned that you came with 2,
yes,
but then you have 4 total.
yes,
You have 4 total, having navigated through that process yourself of, being a public school parent,
yes,
a parent also. So I, I'm just in awe of you. I'm so proud of you. The thing I think I most admire is that you just get it. You're like real about it. It's about servant leadership. When you mention about the tilted pyramid, it says that there's no, it's the people are on the top, right? And it said,
exactly.
that you totally get it, that's who you respond to, and so it's just awesome, and that you're always listening and want to be in the know, and having you're constantly with your fingers on the pulse
Yeah,
of what the community needs and their challenges, and then you're quick to want
yeah,
to fix it and be creative in finding the solutions to fix it. I think that that's really great. What do your kids tell you? Because they've clearly been through this journey with you, and now they're like grown-ups. So
yeah.
what do they say?
Wow. I think they feel very proud, but they were also very engaged in every single activity that I did. My son used to be part of one of the teams, so when he became part of the team, I just switched the team to another coach and stayed with them. So I tried to make arrangements to give them the space, because I want them to be known by their names and by
Right.
name. And he graduated from another school, from Lake Nona High School,
Hmm.
and he was very engaged in drama. He sings. He was very, very engaged. The other ones in band, and they were always there and supporting. The events. I am very thankful to my children as well, because they help me. When you see a lot of pictures in their phone, I cannot take a picture of the event while I'm doing the event. It's my daughter, one of my,
Yeah.
and when you see, sometimes I write the speeches, and they help me, and I
Yeah.
also have adopted children, so
Yes. Uh-huh.
I always have, an angel close to me, Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, Dominican, from Cuba. So they always help me, and I think that they feel related to me as well,
Hmm.
and they I know for sure that they will achieve more than myself. So
Yes.
I think that they say, okay, it looks easy, but it's not. She's still
Yeah.
smiling outside today. She feel like this, but look, she's still helping. They
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And all this also having gone through a separation because you became a single mom. So
yeah,
I mean there's so many layers. I mean, we
yeah.
can go on and I'm just it's like incredible, all of the things that you've been able to accomplish. And I think also as a proud Afro-Latina, I mean, you've always been like very forthright, about defending, also the interests and looking out for injustices and fair treatment, and all of that stuff too, because I'm sure that you've experienced it as well, right?
Course, all the time, and I think because the way I look, I look maybe somebody I feel that I look black, but it depends on whoever you're talking and say, no, you're not black, you're white, or no, you don't see my hair, you don't see my nose, and here we go again. This is a content of when we talk about, for example, the LGBTQ community. You
Right.
know, that person wants to be called she or he. So if
Or
I say black,
they, right? Exactly.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So I think that it feels the same way, and try to make people believe in what you're saying, even when you know that maybe the way you're saying it is not the way they expected to
Mm.
listen, to be
Yeah.
heard.
Yes.
Because of the accent, maybe because of the grammatical mistakes, they don't see beyond
Right.
or the vision, maybe the experience, maybe the networking, maybe
Yeah.
and it's something that sometimes make me run an extra mile. I
Yeah.
can sometimes I see that maybe people achieve the same goal maybe by running 1 mile, and I have to run maybe 10 miles.
Yeah. And then
Because
and that's why I said at the beginning, the small victories, right? The victory is so sweet, right?
uh, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. It's difficult, but what I giving me pleasure and is to see the students achieving more
Yeah.
every day, and
Yeah.
to see that they are not scared to speak up,
Yeah.
that they're not scared if they have accents, if
Yeah.
they're gonna try because it's better than yesterday. So
Yes.
that we're looking at gaining points, not at just being perfect because nobody's perfect. So
Right. Right.
that's and giving me more strength because I also run because somebody, the students were saying you have to run for school board. Nobody's gonna do it for the students. You have to run for school board. No, this time, no. You have to do it. So I know. Oh,
So they pushed you. I'm again just so honored to have you, to call you a friend, to see all of these things, happening to someone who really does deserve it. And the thing is, you don't even realize. I think, you just go and they say, what do we need to do next, and you just go through the motions, and I don't think you understand fully. I know you understand it, but from as an outsider, as us, your community that's supporting you and that cheers you on, the magnitude of what. Now I don't want to start crying, I'm getting emotional right now, but it's like amazing, Johanna. I'm in awe of you. I'm thankful to you and to all the other community leaders, but your guidance and direction to accomplish the name change, really, of this school, while dealing with the drama, in our community, because we wanted it now, really demonstrates why you were, at the forefront of this change. So Thank you so much. Do you want to leave students and our audience with some last minute takeaways or words of encouragement?
Wow. If you have a dream, just go for it. Never give up. Never give up. Don't listen to people who try to make you feel like you don't value, people that do not respect you, that do not believe in you. If you have a good cause, I know for sure you're gonna find somebody to help you to achieve that goal. You know, and I think and I believe that you always gonna have somebody there that is gonna help you for real. You're not alone. You're not alone. You have somebody. You have an angel. And sometimes we speak about angels in another.
Yes.
So a human like you is an angel, people who guide us in our more challenges time. So I think that never give up and believe in yourself.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Johanna. I love you.
Love you. Take care.
Okay, you too.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
This concludes this episode of I Have Something to Say. We want to thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. We're on Spotify and iTunes as well. There's more to come next week. And remember, if you have something to say, it's time to speak up.